Hello, guys. We're back again this week on our usual talk show, The Interactive Solutions. And here today we are taking on the issue of leaders and leadership, the roles of leadership in a society. And it is said that when you find progress in any progressive society, there must be dynamism in leadership. Leadership must be in a dynamic state to be able to move that society forward. Leaders or leadership is the driving force of progress in any society. So where you see a society that is not moving well, where you see things that are not working out the way they should be, you should be looking in the direction of leadership. So today we want to look at the roles leaders play in a society, how society can hold leadership accountable for whatever they've done wrong or whatever they are not doing according to the rules of engagement. And that is what is occupying our attention today. And like as we always tell you, we are here to try to walk us through confusion, walk us through areas where we struggle to come to terms with the things that are happening around us. We want to bring understanding, we want to bring enlightenment, insight into issues of society, issues of leadership. That is the thing that is taking the topical position today. Leadership. What roles should society play in holding our leaders accountable? Many of the things happening around us today have gone to tell us that because society most times are not proactive in holding their leaders to account, that is why so many things work out the way they are working out. And want to help some of us and some societies and some individuals who have pivotal roles to play in making sure that society is exposed to the ways they should hold their leaders accountable. That is what the the point we want to make today. That is the lesson we want to bring across today. And like always, our talk show is not just for content creating. We are here to drive the conversation in the direction where people who are in leadership positions should be held accountable, and how society can hold such leaders accountable. That is why we are here today. And we invite you, as always, to come with your questions, come with your contributions, and importantly, make yourself available so that we can always hear each other out and know how to go about some of these thorny issues. With me, as always, are the guys you know so well, the guys who always lay everything here on the floor of the studio. We don't go away with anything. As much as we get them, that is the way we deliver them. And I believe that today will also be one of those interesting sessions that will bring out the best, the juice in every one of us, both those who are listening and the resource persons at the same time. So I'm going ahead now to bring them in, and once any one of them comes in, we get cracking on this issue, because we don't want to keep you waiting, and we want you to be part of this as much as you can, so that those of us who are aspiring to leadership positions, those of us who are already in leadership positions, can learn and know the things they should do and the things they shouldn't do. And for society at large, we'll be able to know our limits and the extent we can go to hold our leaders accountable. As always, Onion Mary is on the line, and I'd like to bring him in so that we get moving on this. Onion Mary, can you accept the invitation that I sent to you now? Lana, it's good having you watching us today. How is Darlington today? I hope all is well. You're enjoying your Darlington all the way from Stockton-on-Tees. It's good to have you on, Lana. Mary, I just sent you an invite. Can you accept so that I bring you in? Hello? as I was saying, most times we blame our leaders for the things they are not doing right. We don't get to blame ourselves. Society has to be able to hold leaders accountable. When you do not hold your leaders accountable, they can do anything they want to do. But when you hold them accountable, they are bound to be kept in check. The idea of holding them accountable is to keep them in check. And when you keep them in check, when you are able to hold them to whatever promises they made or hold them by what the law says, you see that that society is bound to have the best of the leaders they have. But when you are just carefree about whatever they do, you have little or nothing to say, even you have little or no interest in what is going around you, then you can just have about anything in terms of leadership. So, but today, I think we are going to walk through that maze of confusion and try to, bring understanding. We try to put the touchlight where there is darkness, so that some people will understand their roles in society and be able to contribute towards making that society a better one. So, as always, we are bringing in the guys, and then hopefully we'll get the best. Onye Mary, I just sent you an invite. Can you just click on the invite and come in? I sent you an invite. If you click on it, and then I can conveniently bring you in. I'm seeing you, but then I'm not able to bring you in. So if you could just click on that and then come in, that will help us to complete the process of bringing you in. Mr. Nadi, I hope where you are, you have a strong network, because, I'm seeing your invite, but I've already sent out the signal for you to come in. Betty, it's good to have you watching us all the way from Port Harcourt. Thank you for being there. Wangunyego, you are welcome. Thank you for being there. Thank you for honoring us with your presence. Mary is saying that there's a technical problem with the invite that I sent out to you now. Probably your network is not strong enough to carry the. I sent an invite to you, but you can click the video and see if you'll be able to send me an invite so that I can bring you in. Mr. Nadi, your network, I don't know if your network is strong enough wherever you are, but it seems like there appears to be a glitch that is stopping many of us, stopping you guys from coming on. Chuka, it's good having you on with us today. As always, you have been one of the guys who have kept us busy on this platform. It's good having you on today. So, like I was saying, any society that where you find things that are not working out well, then leadership is obviously to blame, because they set the vision, they set the process through which certain targets, certain visions are walked through to the very end of it. So, in the course of this vision, in the course of working on this vision, there are bound to be some rules of engagement that get these things working. So, but I know that society has a lot of rules to play in making sure that leaders are held account to whatever they are doing. Mr. Nadi, you're welcome.
The team.
Yeah, you're welcome.
How
Finally,
you doing, sir?
I'm okay, and you?
I am doing very well.
Yeah, I can hear the bounce in your voice, and it's like you are all eager to go today.
These voices you're hearing is actually sparring from some addition of alcohol.
Anyway, you just make sure you're within your limits. You don't take
And
too much. So that,
of course,
yeah,
the team.
yeah.
Yeah,
Colin, it's good to have you watching us today. Thank you very much for honoring us with your presence. While we wait for Onyemere to come on, I think we get cracking with this with the talk show as it is today because already I think we've lost some valuable time. 10 minutes
10 minutes. Yeah.
already on top of the hour, and we need to give as much as we have promised to the audience in the course of our advertisement of this program. So the topic today is, as you know, is what roles should society play in holding leaders accountable? And like during my intro, I said that leadership is the driving force of progress in any society. And when you have a society that is not moving well, it is bound to be a leadership problem. But at the same time, on the other side of the coin is followership also. And here you are looking at the society that should hold leaders accountable and make them not to exceed their bounds in whatever objective or whatever activity they have set out for the society as a whole. Leaders and followers are two sides of the same coin, and I believe that checking one another will make society to be on that trajectory to progress. So, having said that, I just want to ask you, for the benefit of myself and all the viewers, what accountability necessarily means in why accountability is necessary in leadership.
Yeah, the T. You know, this topic actually goes down to our human characters, what we defines to be good and what we define to be bad. You know,
Yeah,
in one of our conversations that I think one of our podcasts where we had a conversation, I think we're discussing something similar to this topic, and I made an analogy that if somebody does not know where he's going, there is no way. If you don't know where is home, there is no way you will. Even if you use, unless you use a very good compass that will take you back to where you're coming from. But if you don't actually know what it means to be home, it will be very much far more difficult for you to even see to get your driver or whoever that is trying to convey you to wherever you're going to you cannot hold them into account because you yourself, assuming that you don't know the road yourself, anybody that is conveying you will just do it according to his own conscience, not according to a certain agreement or certain arrangement that you have with them. And what I mean by this is that for us to even talk about holding leaders accountable, we have to diffuse that conversation to, do we actually know what it means to be accountable ourselves? Do we know the road to be accountable? If we understand what it actually means to be accountable within ourselves, within our little sightings, within even our family, within even our little community or villages or all of that, then it brings even a brighter argument that this man is aware of what it means to be accountable. Then that person is the person that will subject somebody else to be accountable, that you're subjecting your family, you're subjecting your wife, you're subjecting your children, you're subjecting to it expands to even subjecting the leader in your community and all of that. So, but what I mean by that is this: the information, or even what we need to even discuss even more, is how do we actually understand what it means for people to be accountable? If we actually know what it means for people to be accountable, then it opens up even a better space for us to understand that it is now our responsibility. It becomes a responsibility to us that when we elect somebody, that we are not just getting that man in there to shout praises and sing hallelujah to them. Now we're actually electing them for them to do a due diligence. If we don't have electricity in our homes, we are electing this man to go in there, fix our electricity. And if he's not doing it, because we understand the concept of the whole conversation, then if he's not actually fixing that electricity, that is the time we have the balls to stand up to him and say, listen, when you are campaigning, when you're giving us your manuscripts or manifestos, you already promised, what we sign in your contract is that when you get there to become the governor or to become the local government chairman, then you're going to fix electricity. If you're not doing it, then you got to sit down. Just the same way, if you know the direction to your house and you go a bad driver, if he's taking the leeway and it's not going in your direction, you got the balls to tell them, no, listen, this is not my way. If you're not going to go my way, you step down. You cannot drive me to a different destination. But you got to know your destination. You got to know the way to your destination. So
Yeah,
to talk about that,
as it is now, for example, yeah, in our society, things are not going out. This is not working quite the way many of us expected. But it has been like that for so long a time, and then it appears that society is not doing that check, so to say. Does that mean that we do not even know what to do? According to you, the compass you're talking about seems to have even not been able to. We don't even seem to have the compass in the first place.
Exactly.
So how do we explain this situation?
Well, if you see any beautiful car, whatever luxurious car you want to use as a reference, there is somebody inside that is driving those cars, unless we are talking about self-driving cars, which is new in invention. The thing that we have, like I mentioned on our previous podcast, what we as a community or as a society more often put all the energy and all the forces to fix what is inside the mirror without fixing who is reflecting on those mirrors. We want to talk about the leaders. We want to talk about the bad leaders, the evil people. But even when we have all these big allegations and criticisms against them, it becomes so ironical that even those who speak those ill about these leaders, when they meet them in events and occasions and all of that, they are forced to go and take snappies and pictures. And then you ask yourself why? Because we are trying to fix what is in the mirror. We're not fixing the man. What is the value that is in that man? What does he think about life? What is he seeing? What prioritizes his decision? What defines what choices he's making? And this is the preliminary of what defines any human being. That is what drives those beautiful cars. It could be a layman that is driving the beautiful car. Disregard the interface of this beautiful car. There is somebody in there that is driving it. And that driver in us is that value. That things that we prioritize. If we actually look if our interface, if what we value amongst ourselves is this sort of what do I call it? What's the right word to use? But I don't want to use the wrong adjective to describe this. But if what you are looking at from a leader, from whoever leads you, is that man that comes in with a convoy and have some mobile police officers and all of these things following him, then I take a picture from him. I take a picture when he comes in. The big question you ask yourself, the big question that is hidden in between that concept, why is this man taking pictures from a man that he may probably be criticizing yesterday? Because there are something that is still not unveiled in the value system of that person. Because the equation that he's using to define what it means to lead or to be in the front run is somehow similar to what he says beating. Because those pictures that he's taking, he's not just taking it because of the likes of pictures, but he's taking it to use it for something else. That is when you begin to ask the better questions, because that is where the deeper question is. Because when you see these people praising these politicians or shouting their praises, even when they are doing nothing, even when they are doing something that is even into their own favor, there are something in between. There are certain things that is inside that person that have defined those concepts, that have made him feel like even the politicians that you're criticizing is actually favoring me, so it's okay, it's fine. Once I have my own piece of cake, then it's fine. Once I'm in the payroll, then it's fine. The politician is doing perfectly well, and the vicious cycle keep going round and round. Once he favors me, it's okay. If he doesn't favor anybody, so you begin to question what is the mental faculty of this person. This man that is in question was not built with the mentality that the beauty, the value of a society is when everybody wins, not when he wins himself. What is the core value of that man is that he wants to win, regardless of if everybody else fails. There is this satire, there's this comic that people say in Nigeria. People, when the NEPA take light or something, a typical Nigerian man will be relieved when they look out the window and see everybody's light, everybody else's light is off. But if it's only his own light that is off, he become agitated. So these are typical signs that prove that our individualism, our selfishness, that once this government have given me an appointment, once this government have favored my village, he becomes a nice person, he becomes a good person. So what we need to be dealing with is the things that faculty, that ideology that have built the mentality of that man that way. Because with that man, the lens that man will be, the lens that he will be seeing accountability is from, does he favor me? If he doesn't favor me, then he needs to be accountable. But if he favors me, oh, he's the perfect, he's the best governor, he's the best president, he's this and that. And there are more to this conversation anyways. But we have to stop looking at that reflection in the mirror. Everybody needs to start looking at themselves. You have to look at yourself. What kind of value do you have, even with your friends, your cohorts, and all of that? What are you looking? Sorry, okay, go on. Sorry, I think I've gone too far.
Very much. Thank you very much. I think you've really brought us closer to this accountability thing, where we have to just be able to hold our leaders accountable. Oyemere, I want to ask you this question. Because a whole lot of things have happened before now, and I want to using our background as a case study. How did we get to this point where we are now talking about leadership that seems to be clueless and irresponsible? How did we get to where we are now? And we are now talking about holding them to account, while we should have been talking about how to probably move from where we are to a higher level, probably with supporting whatever government has in place. But at the moment, we seem to be struggling to allow using the quote of one of the cliches of one of our leaders, allow the poor to breathe. How did we get to the point of asking that the poor should be allowed to breathe?
Well, anyway, thank you. Good evening, all. Nice being here.
Yeah.
I just want to say that.
Welcome, Salah.
Thank you so much. I just want to say that a whole lot of things are involved, and it's not the fault of anybody, just because of the level of education we have, and then the kind of awareness we create. Because for somebody to be able to take responsibility for their actions, that is being accountable for their decisions and for their policies, the person must have made a solution that they're going to be leading by example. And leading by example is just something that everybody is yearning for. If somebody comes in and leads by example, we don't have to be stressing and suffering ourselves and complaining from one thing to the other and almost revolving around the same issue. So what we're saying here is that when we are responsible as leaders, then it normally helps in maintaining the people's trust. These people's trust is highly important in any leadership, and that will enable the leaders, or I call them a collective body of executives, to see themselves as people who are equally accountable to law and who are equally subject to law. Because when you see yourself as somebody who makes the law and then not accountable to the law, it doesn't make any sense. And that's why people always talk about rule of law and rule of law and rule of law. But even when people talk about this, most of them don't even know when they say what is actually rule of law. So when you lead by example, and then you take a conscious decision to be accountable as a leader, I think one thing you have to do is that it will bring out the best in you and also bring out the best in the people that are involved in the leadership. Because when you're leading, it's not a property. Leadership is not a property of anybody. Leadership is just something you get in there and get out at some point, and nobody owes anything and nobody has anything in leadership. Because anybody can be a leader, anybody can be anything in the future, and nobody knows who will be the next leader or who will be the next thing. So it's very important not to see it as a form of property. That's something you have to be colonizing and doing whatever you want there. So coming back to where we are, we've gone a long way in trying to evolve since independence from 1960. We've gone a long way trying to evolve. But anyway, our leadership is still focusing more on these few people that are holding everybody, almost everything in Nigeria, like to ransom. So what do we do? When the masses are not equally and adequately educated in terms of understanding what their right is, how do you ensure that they will hold the leaders accountable? Because there are other certain obstacles that are helping this thing not to be enforceable. And when you are constantly interfering in the law enforcement agencies, when they are investigating and dealing with some issues, when you're constantly interfering because you have the opportunity, because you have the position, because you have the connection, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't encourage the morale or the motivation for people to be enlightened, to be able to see that this is their country where they have this civil right, political right, and legal rights, and all of economic rights, and all of them. So we could have been better, but because everything is still revolving around, there are still obstacles that is making it impossible for us to hold our leaders accountable in Nigeria. And because that accountability is missing, it's also affecting transparency, because it is the transparency that enables accountability. Transparency is just about having access to information, and that's all. Whichever way you want to go about it, having access to information. If we have access to information about what's going on, you don't even need to stress. You have access to information there, and everybody's subject and accountable to law. I'm going to tell you, everything is going to change automatically within a couple of days, if not a couple of months in our country. These people there know what they're doing, and they're also using a kind of ethnicity and religion as a weapon to divide the youth. And that's also what our brother mentioned when he was talking. And he also mentioned about followership. Because we have weak followership, and then we have a few guys who have also colonized the leadership, so it's also making it difficult for people to hold their leaders accountable. And then when we talk about checks and balances, how strong are the checks and balances? The checks and balances in our country is equally weak. And when we see it from the light of prosperity, or from the light of encouraging or motivating democratic values, it's always going to be something that's going to be adverse or negative to the prosperity and progress of our country, Nigeria. Because if you see it now, if you interfere in the investigation, it means that the press, having independence of the press, will also be weak, because everything goes hand in hand with investigation and how to expose those immorality and those corruption in government. Those things are all affected. And then one of the most important and could be the most dangerous trend in our country is that we have weak institutions, especially the weak judiciary. So when the judiciary, who has the mandate from the people to oversee or to have the power to check both the executive and then the lawmakers. When they are weak because of that continuous interference, because of lack of explanation, because of lack of justification for what they do, and because of lack of defining and redefining clear goals, what do you expect from a country like this? How do you expect them to move forward? It's just that because people lack justice. There are different types of justice, but when you have the basic justice in Nigeria, in the system, when the citizens lack it, the basic justice, what do you expect? It's always going to be chaos. That's why people are doing their best. Advocacy group, all of those, for example, NGOs, and people are beginning to use social medias to educate the masses. But the problem is, when you're benefiting, it can be challenging to hold leaders accountable, because when you're benefiting, you're always never going to say anything. When it comes to the majority, especially the majority of the ethnicity and the religion, it's always going to be because he is mine or she is ours. We can't participate in what you're doing. What you're doing is always wrong. Just because of because I am benefiting somewhere, I don't have to play a particular role in making sure that as a citizen of a country, that I contribute to making sure that the leaders are held accountable and responsible. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Onyemere. Thank you very much. Ms. Nnadi, there's a comment by Chuka. Can you take a look at that while I ask you my question? He said, first of all, through our votes, proper election and not selection of leaders that will block due process of accountability and strong institutions. That's Chuka's contribution. But I want to ask you, in light of this, do you think that accountability should be reactive or proactive? Because when you're talking about votes during the election, and that means that if anybody had done anything prior to election, we'll have to wait until during the election to hold him accountable. So should accountability be proactive or reactive?
Well, the thing, there is this, I think it's a proverb, and it's a very metaphorical one in our village, where we say a warrior that always prepare his arrows on the days of battle. Oh yeah, okuta oboshog in our dialect. I'll give you a bit more picture to understand these things, and this is what I've been struggling with even having some conversation, like contemporary conversations like this, about we look things from the interface. We're looking at the outwards, the results. And to be fair with our brother Chiguka, he's literally saying the things that is quite obvious to everybody. It's literally obvious, but there are reasons why those things are happening. There is this, what do I call it? The back end to this conversation. The man that rigs that election have got values. He wakes up every day in his house and thinks about, what should I do this morning? Is this thing wrong or right? Whatever he thinks is right is what you are seeing in that interface. So for us to even have that conversation at all, we need to start going back to how to redefine what everybody thinks from his house. When on the day of that election, before he leaves his house, there have been a build-up to his mentality. He didn't just start that day. He didn't just wake up one day and say, "Oh, I'm going to annul the election. I'm going to announce the wrong results." This man have grown up. He have grown with this mentality, and subsequent to this growing, he has had encounters that have actually fortified those logic, those ideology, that it is actually right. This is the best way to live in society. We should not just act as if we are just some aliens in this space. We all contributed one way or the other, and that one way or the other is what part of what I'm trying to explain today. Because you cannot stay in your house and think exactly the same way as a politician and then still criticize the politician. I was having a study about why we don't even have electricity in Nigeria. And a lot of us will not even know. They will just sit down and say, oh, it's the government, it's this. I'm not the government. The government for us is a disaster. We all know that. There is no argument. We understand that. But we should also understand that this government grows. It grows from, it was a product of us, the way we think. I was challenging somebody that how do you expect a collective approach to electricity when most of the people most of the elites or most of the people who have the voices to discuss about this electricity are complacent. They have generators in their house. They have private generator. They are not in darkness. The only people that is in darkness is those who have no voice. For us, for me and you that even have those voice, that have got to a certain level to even speak up. Some of us are complacent, like I said. Some of us have dragged ourselves away to abroad, to where there's electricity and where the law and order is working and all of that. But we don't want to fix our own. We don't want to put the energy and the struggle to fold our own slaves to be able to sort our own problems ourselves. So it's not just what we're seeing in the interface. The interface is actually a product of a general perception in a given society, what is acknowledged, what is acceptable in your village, in Enugu, for instance, Mr. T. If you come to Enugu and make a very valid point, there are indices that people look at. What are those indices? Before your voice counts. It's not because you speak good English. No, or it's not because you have a point. There are points. In that your point, there are points for them. There are certain things that becomes point when you raise them. When those our village council chairman and even those governors, that if you ask everybody now, they are furious. Oh, politicians. When eventually the governor appears in one of the lunch in the village square, they will stampede you if you are not careful, because everybody will be running to shout praises, hallelujah, to that governor. That is what we need to deal with. Why? Why is these things? And why? And that question why is where the value, what are those things that makes these people think? Because this is the way they want. This is what they want themselves. You discuss about politicians who want to go with long convoy. Give any of us the same opportunity. They will give you the same reason that the politicians are giving. I was challenging a friend the other day that went back to Nigeria, and we're having this conversation. He said, "Oh, if I didn't go with security, I'll be mobbed, or they will nab me. From the kidnappers will nab me." I said, "If you think so, why wouldn't the politician think the same? So is it the politician that will put yourself in a vulnerable situation to be kidnapped?" So for us to even have this conversation, it has to be a collective responsibility. We have to all find our own blames, because I can categorically tell you the link between the legitimacy of a governor to that praise that you're giving him. Because if you didn't give me praises, if you come to a market square, nobody says nothing. Everybody just say that these evil people that are coming to our village, and nobody pays them attention, you will find out they will start losing their legitimacy. And it will even hasten their mentality, their understanding that these people, we are not getting all the support from these people anymore. It's been like we've been savaged. There are people that are being cynical about our activities. Then they will retrieve. But when they come, even they select the nice speakers to even acknowledge their very well behaviors and good ways that they have been working in the society. And then you expect that these guys are going to go back to revive, or to even think that what they are doing is wrong. They're not. So to bring that conversation back, it is only in Nigeria. It is only in Nigeria. Nigeria is, I think, it's number 3 in index, in the corruption index, number 3. But it's still the same Nigeria. There have never been even a single politician in Nigeria that have been indicted and completed his prison terms. Not even a single one. It's either they have been pardoned halfway. Those who are pardoning them are people like me and you. They commit crime. It's all, in fact, the one that actually even was an scapegoat was not in Nigeria. He has to be abroad. Ibori, The only one that almost finished in terms. And look at Ike Kweremadu that is here in the UK. If he was in Nigeria, the judge may be your brother. A man that speaks in tongues and say that what God cannot do does not exist. He will pardon him straight away. And then we'll come back and we'll say, oh, it's the politicians. We have to tell ourselves the truth, Mr. T. We have to start from ourselves. How are we accountable to our own family, to our own small society? If there is a situation in our society now, if I left my phone in a place one day, and I left it about a few hours. I came back, the phone was still there. I lost my wallet at one point when I went to Cardiff, and I went back, that wallet was there. In the UK, if you do that in churches in Nigeria, it will get missing. But don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that politicians are not bad. We know that Nigerian politicians, but we cannot exempt these politicians from us. We cannot just count them out and say or point at them as these are the bad people. We also all have to accumulate these blames, and because that is the only way. Because it's not the politician that have won the trophy. Because for them to win that election, they have won the trophy. It is not them that have won this trophy that you are expecting to start to retrieving. Because it's now for them to enjoy the proceeds of their victory. It is us. Sorry, Mr. T. Let me leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that elucidation. Thank you. Onyemere, the inability of society, for example, in Nigeria now, the inability of society to hold our leaders accountable. That is the why. Why are we not able to hold leaders accountable? Is it as a result of breakdown in values, the values that brought us up, or is it as a result of maybe the overwhelming strength of leadership? So which one do you think, what is the why that we've not been able to hold our leaders accountable?
As I said earlier, I think we're not talking about, I think narrowing this thing to political leaders is just, it will be out of context for our discussion, because it's not, we're not saying that it's only political leaders that are bad. No, leadership is involved in all spheres of the institutions we have in Nigeria. Even in the family, leadership is involved. Even in the church, leadership is involved. In village square, leadership involved all over the places. So what we're saying is that, because there's no way we can't hold leaders accountable in that micro context, and then hoping to hold leaders accountable in the macro context. It's not possible. Then I've always advocated those little things you do. How do you manage them? How do you do them? How do you perfect them? Because when you talk about leaders, and then when you narrow it down for political leaders, I think it's kind of biased in a way. But we have to focus on leadership, the leaders. What role should the society play in holding them accountable? Because if we hold our leaders accountable in the church, then we're making progress, and that progress is going to metamorphose into helping us to hold our leaders also accountable in the macro level. Politicians, every politician has a place where they come from, and they've also participated in one way or the other in one area of leadership or not. And maybe they have not. Some of them may have not, or maybe some of them have gone there through connection. But at least they have a place they come from, and they've always done something in that place. So if we go to that micro context, I say, I live in the UK. I live in the UK. I have access to cheat. I have access to dodge the train. I have access to not buy the bus fare. This is all leadership. So holding yourself as a leader, because you have to see yourself as a leader in that context, holding yourself accountable as a leader is just looking at the decisions you make, looking at how those policies, how those decisions and actions you take is also influencing the bigger picture of when all the macro context begin to make their own policies that is also going to be enforceable on all of us. We have to know our rights. When you read your right, it's not just enough to read your right. You also have to be able to enforce your right practically. Because if you don't, like I mentioned all these things before, I said if you don't, what interference is making things difficult in our country. And ethnicity and religion, we all know these things. But what we're talking about, this role, if we keep raising awareness, if we keep advocating and coming together to do something that will elevate the mindset of the people, because sometimes you might want to hold somebody accountable and the person will resist. Not only the person, but the person's followers will also resist. So in that angle, how can you get in if you don't know what is called a freedom of information right? Everybody has got freedom of information right. Everybody has got the legal right to access documents and all the government accounts on your own. That is also what people are doing elsewhere. And then when the press begin to expose all these things, people begin to say, "Oh, they are developed or not." No, this time around, we have to be participating, because most people are not participating. People are really apathetic about participating in politics. People see it like I mean, whether it's the way it's conveyed in our society, it's kind of conveyed as something that is wrong and something that's an evil for you to participate in politics, which is absolutely wrong. So it is something, when we get involved in civic engagement and participate in and participate in it, making sure that electronic system of electing our leader works, we are also doing enough to contribute to how we can hold them accountable. Because if you just leave accountability there, say, okay, make decisions and hold accountable, I'll lead by examples, nobody cares. Because once you elect them, in most cases, once they get in there, they have also passed the stages of settling you. And most of the time, we know that we normally buy all these mandates. So when we talk about legitimacy of anybody may not decrease. What will decrease might be popularity, because the legitimacy, what you've given, the mandate you've given to them, and then the popularity, like he said, if we don't begin to be fawning or kowtowing people just because they're in the position where they have the responsibility to take care of us, if we stop kowtowing them, I think things will get better. But the people you're talking about, you're telling not to kowtow them and not to do this, will they listen to you? No, because of what I said before, they are benefiting. And the moment they are benefiting, there's an issue that could be difficult to solve. And that is that role we're supposed to be playing. Because as far as they know that we are divided, what they're going to be doing is that to be exploring and exploiting the gap between us and making it difficult for people to unite. And when it's difficult for people to unite, for people to get education, and all of those things that people are coming out to say, lend this, do that, it's your own responsibility. This is your own money. And when somebody's leading, it's not their money, it's the money that belongs to everybody. That's a public money, and that's why they call it public fund. So what we do is that, are we blaming politicians alone? No. We can't blame them alone, because we have religious leaders who are also corrupt. We have different types of leaders who are also corrupt. We have different, if you go to all the parastatals, apart from politicians, the civil servants, if you talk about their performance standard, what do they do when they get to office? If you begin to narrow it down, you also see that it's part of the corruption, because most people don't work, most people don't do anything. People just go and report and go home, and then take salary at the end of the month. It's also a way that you are selling yourself. And when you don't contribute, when you don't have any output or performance standard, or telling yourself that I have to be honorable to myself, I want to participate, I want to work. So if you're not working and taking salary, how can you have the effrontery to tell people that you want to hold them responsible? And that is what most people are also using, recycling it all the time and making it difficult for you to see that this money they are using are actually your money. And this position they're there are actually positions that you've elected them to be in order to serve you. So when you are not living as the person is serving you, but living as the person, worshiping the person, or doing all sorts of things because the person is there, you are also contributing to making things difficult in terms of holding in terms of making things difficult in terms of holding the leaders accountable. Why are leaders not transparent? They can't provide information, because the information is the key, as I said before. If we have access to information, when we talk about the Code of Conduct Bureau and Tribunal, that is also the reason why most time the agencies are telling them to declare their assets, and also they have access to also ethics standard. That is the Code of Conduct Bureau and Tribunal Act. You also have whistleblower act. These are the things we have in Nigeria. But are they functioning? No. If you whistleblow one, whistleblow two, they will target you and then destroy the person. But this is a right that nobody has to intimidate you, nobody has to molest you, and nobody has to do anything against you when you're reporting illegal activities or corruption or fraud by any government officials or by any leader, whether in the church, whether in the government, whether anywhere else. We have the legal right to report and have access to information. But do we have that access to information? No. Normally, we get entangled in electing our leaders most of the time. All the things we do end up from the campaign to electing them. And once we elect them, we normally stay back and we don't care, especially when it is something that we benefit from. So what we are saying here is that they use also their own system. For example, look at what is happening what is happening in our country now, whereby somebody can just suddenly come out and say, I make this policy, and no resistance, nothing. Everybody stays. So if the person says, I make this policy, and this policy is enforceable on you by whatever means, and you don't do anything, the next policy is coming, which is also going to be enforceable on you. Those police people you see there, they are there to serve the society and enforce law. They're not there to really do most of the things they're doing. And because some of the time, we also contribute in disrespecting them. I'm an advocate of respecting the police, and also an advocate of telling the police to do something that is very good to the masses and not to be oppressing them and using gun anyhow against them. But I'm totally against anybody disrespecting the police, because they are there taking the orders from the executive, and most time people assign those misinformed blames on them, thinking that it is their own fault. They take orders, just like in the military, they take orders. So if we can harness all this institution, most of the things our brother mentioned was just around the institution. I talk about strengthening institution, and especially our judiciary. When we lack justice, when we lack access to justice, we lack access to almost everything, and we need justice to be able to hold them also accountable. Because when somebody finishes, immediately somebody finishes, just like it's happening anywhere in the developed world, Germany, Austria, anywhere, once that person finishes, we have the power to hold the person accountable and say, this information is available. But when information is blurred and when information is secret, you don't have access to the information. And what is going to happen? Immediately the person leaves, is going to be the destruction of that information. You will never have access to that information. Meaning that the new leader will still start from the beginning. And all over again, we keep starting all over again from the beginning. It is not supposed to be it's supposed to be a continuous something whereby there's a structure. We lack structure to be holding them accountable. There's a structure that creates a system. I mentioned this before during our last conversation. I said that structures create system, and system creates succession, and succession creates sustainability. This is how we citizens who has the legal, economic, political, and civil right to elect our leaders also have those rights to hold them accountable. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mary. That was a long one, and thank you very much. Ms. Nnadi, we already know that there is a situation on ground. Things are not working out the way ordinarily it should be. We think they should work out, and even comparatively, things are not working out. If you take a look at what Chuka said, this topic touches the freedom of electorate, the freedom of the electorate, especially in Nigerian context. Now, things are already the way they are. How can we promote a culture of accountability and transparency in leadership in our country?
The best tool that have been acceptable everywhere around the world is education, just like what we're doing now. And like I've always said, in the course of our podcast, it's not. You don't necessarily need to agree with me. You can get your own argument. Disagree with what we're saying. It's not necessary that we all have to accept or agree on something. But the truth is that we've got to do something. We've got to do something. We cannot just keep routing up this argument or routing up these blames. Every government to route this man is that man, and then all of a sudden we go back to the same formula and expect this different solution, different result. It doesn't work like that. And I accuse you to a bit of a comparative analysis. I was challenging a guy. I said to him, you know, when we mention a lot of the big elephants in the room, which is religion and ethnicity, this thing sounds as if it's a big topic that needs to be addressed by the big people. We don't even know how this actually reflects to me and you. And I'll give you a typical one of them. This guy was giving me a good conversation about how the Britain, how the white people, how they have got a thriving society and all of that. He said he was talking that it's ethnicity, which we part of the context of what we discussed. Then I asked him a question: Would you let an Hausa man be an Igwe in Ngwo? That is the big one. I know it's a big one, but let's bring it even closer. Typically, you're dealing with a typical African man, Hausa man. What is your perception of those person? What's the right word to use? I don't know. English is not my first language. What do you think about an Hausa man when you are having a little corporate relationship with? You always see them as the outsider. When they speak, you complain the way their accent is. And they even dress, you say, oh, this and that. But you want a community, a more liberal community than that of the UK. The UK, where an Indian man will become a prime minister, or even a black man from nowhere becomes an MP of a society. We cannot eat our cake and have it. If we want a more liberal or secular kind of society, we need to live it in our daily lives. If we are even in an Umona meeting and we are having a conversation about, we want to stick to our Omenana. We want to stick to the way it was done during our own forefathers. And then we come back and say, what is holding Nigeria is tribalism. But we are the pioneers of this tribalism when it directly affects us. So, I'm not saying that the people, diversity is not even also, there is no, treasure in diversity. But if we have chosen not to be diverse, we should wholeheartedly accommodate or accept the consequences that comes when people are too tribalist. If an Hausa man will come to buy, or a Yoruba man will come to buy land in Enugu, I bet you there will be squaddles everywhere. People will be having meetings and big alarm that the taboo is about to happen. So, to bring that to the context, I saw a message in our, somebody sent a message. I think it's our favorite one. What's his name? Kinsley. Kinsley said, a black man, this is something here in the UK, anywhere you go. Because what people think, we are not seeing the man in that mirror. Wherever he goes, he doesn't change. That's this concept. They say, if you carry monkey go America, he stay monkey. Monkey does not just change because he gets to America. Because the core part of that man is what he thinks. A typical black man sees another black man. This is what he sees. He sees competition. He sees a criminal.
African man,
sorry. This is the same even here in the UK. And we can dive into that conversation. There's a deeper concept to that. Where we come back with this religion, we come back with this tradition, we come back with a lot of all these toxic, what do I call it? Fragiles. Or is that fragile? What do you call this? The thing that they used to cover the buildings. I forgot the name, but if I remember. So these are the basics of what builds up to that African man. I was talking to somebody else. I said, each and every one of us if I see a typical black man like myself, or an African man, what I see is a competitive subject.
Mindset.
Am I better than him? Or the kind of car he's driving? Oh, you can't even speak good English. Oh, my shoes are better. This is why if you even go to America, you see that if you go to where they buy clothes and shoes, you find out that the poorest part of Americans, which is, sorry to use that word, but I'm not here to castigate us. Because it's affecting me as well. I'm not here just to be the prophet of doom that we always come and speak ill about the Africans. But I'm speaking all of these things from my heart. I'm speaking it because these are the ills that is holding us like a shackle, that is holding us from moving from this ancient mentality to a digital world where we can all live together in harmony and in love and in respect, where even our politicians will come among us, come fully equipped with all the knowledge that is needed to lead. Not all this toxic is from my village, it's my own man. Because that is the same way. This same way when they open a slot of who is going to be the local government chairman, what is in most of our mind is not who is going to get there to lead. Oh, it's Enugungo turn. The framework that we contrast this information is, oh, he's from Etiti. That is the good man. Once he's from Etiti. Our scaling this thing is not, is this man going there to uphold justice? And then when there is injustice, you expect a man that you elected to be as a village man to come and stand for your justice. He doesn't have that qualification. The qualification that got him that office is because he's from Enugungo. Not because he's a just man, not because he understands what justice is, because that is what you're looking for. These are the lanyard that you used to elect him, and it's then giving you the feedbacks from your own packages. So this is the reason why I'm very emphatic about that. We have to look at all of this information from the inwards. We have to start re-educating our people. We have to start forget about all these ones that have got all this PhD and SSG and SSP, because they are even part of the problem. Education must not be formal. In fact, in theory, around the world today, it's not even formal education that is moving waves, solving people problems. It is people who critically think, who goes into that problem with the mentality on how to solve it, not just how to excavate it or make it looks like there is always nothing to do about it. That it's always like that, or trying to fashion the blames to somebody else. It's them, it's the Hausa, it's the Yoruba, it's the leaders, it's this. What about yourself?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I know I've got to run now, Mr. T, because
you're going emotional, but it's okay.
Yeah.
We can understand.
Sorry about that, guys. Sorry.
Education
no
is
problem.
key. Education is key. Education is key. That is one thing I've taken from your submission. But education is key is one of the means of us trying to educate ourselves, and in that context, try to hold
raising awareness.
Yeah. Now, we are still on this transparency.
I have to leave now because I'm in a ceremony. I'm somewhere.
You don't need to tell us where you are. You don't need to tell us where you are. But we can excuse you. We can excuse you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. My respect, sir.
Take care, brother.
Onyemere, there's a submission here by Anthony Abu, and I'd like you to take a look at that. But while you take a look at that, my question to you is still on the issue of transparency and accountability.
Yeah, that's what we are.
What roles do you think that the media, or what is the role of communication in all this, in trying to maintain or help us come to terms with the issue of accountability and transparency in the society?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, I honestly say that the media this is their right. Like, if we encourage Freedom of Information Act, and Freedom of Information Act is something that all of us will benefit from. And if we look at it the way it is, it's not just about saying Freedom of Information Act on paper or on theory, but without it being implemented in practice. Because when we implement those things in practice, it's always going to be helping us. Because if you see, people like what our brother was, everything he was just analyzing is just about mindset and institution, and those institutions, like we also said this in before, are very vital. If the media are not independent, how can they expose injustice? How can they expose corruption? How can they expose the ills of our society? It's only when they are independent. But normally we have a situation whereby every time we see the media trying to be independent, we also have some trying to interfere in what we're doing. And by interfering, it's not going to take us anywhere, because all of those things, all of those baggages our brother mentioned that people have carried over to the Western world, is still because of that mindset that is not changing. They themselves are also resisting change. So when you're resisting change yourself, because if I remember when I was telling you in one of our podcasts that if only each of us can take one good thing, do you remember? If only each of us can take one good thing from the Western world and go back home, that our society will be transformed automatically. But then we're in a situation whereby it's all about subtle, unnecessary competition. Am I competing with you for? Are you the one paying my house rent? Are you the one feeding me? Am I the one feeding you? Am I the one paying your house rent? What we have to be emphasizing more is the capacity and love each other and to help each other. Because if we move around, we have to tell ourselves the truth that Africans, I'm saying it before and I say it again, that Africans, we have failed in coming together to establish something that will be sustainable for the coming generations here in the Western world. The only thing we see is that my mother, this is still mindset issue. Somebody's mother travels to abroad. The person is showing it on all the social media for you to see that the father has traveled abroad. These things are good. And we said nice, but people normally like the next thing is that another person will just activate the mother, and my mother is there. Instead of looking at our mother's coming is very, 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 very important. Our mother's coming to join us and benefit from what we benefit. It's okay, but instead of us looking beyond the context or thinking outside the box like the Indians, who normally try to establish a sustainable business for their own people. I remember in England. If you remember, there was a time last year where many people were doing some content in TikTok and trying to abuse or insult the British people. There was something that happened. Nigerian nurses were boasting that Nigerians have many nurses at the hospital, and if you remove them, blah, 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 blah. But until the British people released the data, since that day, we even understand that we don't even have nurses inside NHS. We have few of them, very few of them. But the Indians who has more, and Indians who have more, and the Pakistan who have more, they don't even make noise. You don't see them make noise. This is just all about mindset issue. So media need to be allowed to do their job. But unfortunately, the problem we encounter or we normally have is a situation whereby the media are not doing their job. The media keep on promoting the executive. For example, now, if you calculate how many interviews the media have granted Wike over the past 1 or 2 years, you'll be wondering, is he has he monopolized media? But this is not what actually we've elected these people to do. And also, you look at what happened when a governor was removed. An elected governor, elected by their own people, was removed for six months. This is utterly something out of order in a democratic society. But if you want to talk, we come back again to what we were talking about, tribalism. If you want to talk, because when we talk about the issue of tribalism or religion, it's a mindset thing, and you can acknowledge that it is there, and it's never going to get out so easily without our continuous and consistent raising awareness to people that we don't need religion, we don't need ethnicity, we need to be electing a qualified person to lead us. The qualified person doesn't have to be my brother, it doesn't have to be my sister, but as long as the person is qualified, we need to come around that person and elect the person. And we don't have to be doing it with bias. So we need to be encouraging, wherever we are, encouraging media law to be active, to be active in our country. We have to be encouraging everything about the code of the new.
Who should encourage media? Who should encourage the media? Are you talking about leaders who are obviously beneficiaries of the activities of the media, or are you talking to the society that needs the help of media to expose many of these ills you're talking about? I don't see anybody who benefits from a situation trying to work against that system that is beneficiary to him.
Yeah, you remember what I told you earlier? I said that we are in a situation whereby if you want to initiate the change, somebody will always resist the change, and because they always have this gap in between us that they normally exploit against us. But if you go back and forth in all the societies that are developed, brother, the change started from somewhere. It didn't. This Western country didn't fall from heaven. I remember I was telling you in 1960, and I quote based on fact, if you to access a room, even for any of our leaders in Africa, whoever he may be, if you to get a room in the UK, they normally write, this is not for this is not for dogs, this is not for the Irish, and this is not for they call it black, but this is not for Africans. This is the way they write in front of everything. So, but our own leaders have gone to this society. They got education. They passed through these things. They still came back with nothing. What I'm saying here is that whether they benefit or not, remember that the masses are the ones. It's just for you to understand the right you have. I said it before. It's the masses to understand the capacity and the right, the level of rights they have to hold their leaders accountable. The masses stand in a better position to hold the leaders accountable more than the leaders, because the leaders cannot kill everybody. But normally, we have a situation whereby if you want to hold anybody accountable, you always encounter this resistance from the same clique. Somebody might tell you, okay, we want to do this thing, and tomorrow somebody might tell you, oh, I'm not involved because the person is already bought. But even these things were happening in the UK, these things were happening in America before, but at the point people gathered and said, no, this media, if we come down and protest, like it's our right to protest, but today we don't even have that legal right to protest. So if we come and protest against any policy that is not affecting us positively, I think the leaders will change. But we are torn in between being afraid and thinking about whether if I go there they will kill me. As long as we are consumed by fear, brother, it will be difficult for us to hold our leaders accountable. Look at what these guys are doing. There's one guy called Peter. There's one guy called Peter out there. Have you seen the content this guy is creating? This guy has got enormous amount of followers now, and we cannot. It's not just about one person. If we are queuing on what we're doing and telling ourselves the truth, and in that way, we can always be a perfect example of people who want to change the society, and in doing so we'll be able to hold our leaders accountable. Thank you.
Thank you. And what do you think we should do to rally citizens to this point where they become as it is now? Many of us are docile. We are not even in the conversation. We don't get involved in conversation in things that concern the country as it is. Yeah. And you just mentioned this Randy Peters. I know I've seen so many of his content online. So what do you think we should do in trying to rally people to come to this point where they become active in the national consciousness and things that are happening within the nation?
Yeah, I think there's nothing else we can do other than continuous raising awareness. Like if whether education is formal or informal or non-formal, continuous raising awareness. One person cannot change Nigeria. Even if you elect P2B in the next election, I'm telling you now that he will try to do whatever he can do. He's already said that he's going to lead for one tenure. P2B might finish doing good in one tenure, and another person will become a disaster. So we need continuity, which means that all of us have to be speaking out. Don't underrate or underestimate the capacity or the quality of what you're doing in trying to enlighten or empower people through information. Because education that lacks information is not education. You have to be informed. And when we were talking about having an informed citizenship, informed citizens who can understand who they are, what they have, and the power in them to change and influence things positively. So we can't say that even if people are most of them are docile. What most people do is just to work and get money, work and get money, build house and build hotels and all those things. These things are nice. But when we talk about what legacy are we leaving, or what legacy are we actually going to leave for our children when we die, you'll find out that you might give your child a big mansion somewhere there, and that's not what your child wants. Your child just might want to travel to your country and see that your country is a very beautiful place, a nice place where law is being enforced and where he can stay or she can stay. But as long as we are not speaking out and we're not trying to do justice to this thing and trying to say, oh, people are this and just one or two persons are speaking out, they're not enough. We need to be queuing in, speaking out and speaking out and fighting with the same spirit. The more we're doing this thing, we will be capturing the mindset of those docile ones, because their mindset is the problem. And for you to win their mindset, they need to see you in front. They need to see you speak out. They need to see you do things. It's not just about saying that this thing that happened, but what are you doing in your using your own medium? What are you doing in your own level? What are you doing in your own society? What are you doing in everywhere? People want to say this thing, and once you're doing it, it will encourage them to join in making sure, because we need to take back Nigeria. I honestly sympathize with the kind of generation we're going to have in the next 10, 20, 30 years. Because many people are going to die, and then there will be a situation whereby the children will not want to go back to Nigeria. Go and keep this word. I said it today, today's date. Keep today's date. Their children will not want to go to Nigeria, because we have decided, or we've seen, that other countries are equally good to live, and other countries are equally not the best place in the world, but our place is not as good as anything to live, without recognizing that it is the individuals of those countries that automatically change their country. So the individual, the citizens, are always going to rally around a cause and say enough is enough. Without saying this enough is enough, I don't know what is actually going to happen to our generations. Because when they go there, the law, all of those things that we're seeing now, people saw it 30 years ago, they didn't do anything. People saw it 50 years ago, they didn't do anything. And I'm sorry. If we still stay today and we didn't do anything, I don't know what we're going to tell our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. John Mary, can you give us your last on this show?
Well, my last is that let us continue to be dogged. I encourage all of us to be participating in holding our leaders accountable. I encourage all of us to understand that the leaders that are leading us are people we elect by our own self, by our own vote. There's no way somebody you have elected with your own vote will be bigger than you, or suddenly be bigger than the law. No, we need to be holding them accountable in such a way that we will be maintaining and motivating trust between us and them. I also encourage us to be queuing in, speaking out, using all forms of media to be speaking out against leaders who are not accountable to their society, whether in the religious space, whether in the political space, whether in any form of micro and macro space. We should always stand up and be the symbol of example, because when we lead by example, by speaking out, it's always going to encourage others to see that our desire to hold leaders accountable is not something that's going to fall on sand. It's something that's going to bear a perfect fruit for our future generations. And I also encourage us to understand that our quietness will affect the children we have today, and there's no need to be quiet. And also in that term, I'm also trying to also align or mention or just talk a little bit about what our brother said here, that we don't necessarily need to divide the country. We just need to upgrade our mindset, because if we go back and forth in 1960 or 1950 something, there was a time an Hausa person was a commissioner, there was a time a Yoruba person was a commissioner in Enugu. All those things are possible if we can upgrade our mindset and realize that we are in 2025 and not in 1960 or 1910. I also encourage all of us to not give up, because any project that is not supported will always fall and not bear any good fruit. So don't give up in trying to hold anybody accountable. Speak out the truth. The truth will always stand, no matter how you press it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mary. Like you said, Abu was talking about that Nigeria is a militarism period. That I think what he's saying is that Nigeria has come to the point where it's beyond salvage. But I don't think it has come to that point. It's just like we said, a question of seeing things from a different perspective. You know, when you see things from a different perspective, you could see those things in a clearer manner than they presented to you when you were seeing it from where you were ab initio. But having said that, we want to thank all those of you who stayed with us throughout the course of this. You know, many of you have supported us, and we thank you for your support, and we'll always cherish the moment and the contributions, the questions, your presence. Importantly, we want to thank you because without you out there, we wouldn't be here. And as you continue to, generate questions and concerns, we always continue to try to walk through these concerns. We'll try to, remove the cobwebs from that try to befuddle our understanding of certain issues. Having said that, once again, I'm not taking for granted the time that you guys have stayed with us. I'm not taking for granted the comments and the contributions. You've just gone a long way to tell us that what we are doing here is important, and we'll continue to try as much as we can to keep the dice rolling. Having said that, in a nutshell, I captured here that where we are today is not where we would ordinarily be, but because of certain things, we see ourselves in a situation where we have a need to call leadership to order. But in calling leadership to order, like our brother said, you have to look at the mirror. And when you are looking at the mirror, don't touch the mirror and trying to fix anything. Fix the man who is looking in the mirror. So there has been this failure of values in the society that has contributed a lot to where we are. So it's not just about the man who is the president or the man who is the governor, because given the same opportunity, you will even probably do worse than the man is presently doing. Ignorance is also key in keeping us very, very lethargic, in just being passive in things that ordinarily we should be active in. But with education, we know that we negotiate that curve and come to a point where we get ourselves involved in the things of our nation. Unnecessary competition. There is no need. We're all in our different lanes. We're all in our different lanes. You're running your race, I'm running mine. Instead of competition, we should be complementing each other. And when you complement each other or one another, you bring out the best. You bring out the best, not just in yourself, but even in the next person. And when you bring out the best in your next door neighbor, in your brother, your sister, your friend, the society at large will benefit from it by and large. So having said that, we just want to talk to us that Nigeria is worth our time. Nigeria is worth giving our time. The places where we are staying, they are worth giving our time. Systems, issues surrounding us are worth giving our time. And when we make our time to look into those issues and bring out the best in such situations, we also bring out the best in ourselves. So we call upon everybody, wherever you are, in whichever clime you're staying, as you are planning to go back to Nigeria, let us try to bring up our A game, not just going there with the mind that you have arrived because you came over to America or UK and made some few quids, then bought one rickety Tukumbo card, and you think everybody should grovel before you. People should be humble. Just be who God has created to be, and try to be the best towards your neighbor and then to the society at large. Having said that, we want to thank you for having made our time to be with us. We will be coming your way again next Sunday, and we believe that we'll bring topical issues that will keep us all engaged, like it has engaged us today. Thank you very much, and have the best of the day and the best of the coming week. From myself and Onye Mary, we thank you, and Sam Nadi, who just stepped out, probably is somewhere that couldn't allow him to complete the session with us. We want to thank you for your time and your presence. Thank you very much, and have the best of the remaining day.
And we have to tag. We have to thank you so much. We have to tag holding our leaders accountable as a movement. We have to tag it a movement. Yeah. right from the local context. Because when we start from the local context, we will meet them at the highest level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
The best of the week. Yeah, bye.
Take care.